he spent some time on the English mission and then he transferred to Scotland. While he was in Scotland, he got a lot of postcards from different friends. And this postcard came from his girlfriend, I think. Give me another one. Yeah, she had been down to London, and on the back of this postcard was saying that she had a great time wherever she was, and I'd like to meet you again, and when we get back. So I don't know whether she ever met him or whether she was a nurse, actually. I presume from the pictures that on the postcard she had that she was nursing in a cottage hospital in England. The other thing that I found out was that while he was in Scotland, he was also interested in playing golf. This lady here, she's at the seaside. Now, which of these two ladies was sent to the car? This was a postcard from the seaside, and it talks about playing golf. That they had a great time playing golf. In actual fact, she said that little girl here will be as good as he is at golf. They said when they'd be back to see him, that they'd go play golf again. So he must have been interested in playing golf as well. Go on here. Also in the collection, the collection of postcards. And these are interesting because that's a postcard of Westminster Abbey, so it means that he would have been at Westminster Abbey when he was in London. The one up here is a picture of the Queen's Town, the cathedral in Cove, before they put on the big spires. And the spires went on in about 1916. So the postcard was earlier than 1916. Well, it had to be anyway, because he was killed in 1918 anyway. Yeah. Okay, Sheldon. That's his bishop in Scotland. He was transferred from London to Scotland, and he got a letter from this Dr. Fraser, who was a bishop in Scotland, and he asked would he take over the parish. He said, I'm sorry to have to move you again, but this Monsignor Holden needs two very strong, energetic and zealous assistants, and I'm sending Father MacDonald and you to him, and I'm sure you will make his work as easy as possible. You will therefore be at St. Joseph's on the 21st of March 1915, begging God bless your work. I am yours, Robert of Dunkeld. He was the Bishop of Dunkeld. Robert Fraser was his name. So Father James was transferred to St. Joseph's of Dundee, and he spent a lot of his time working there. In actual fact, he was so important there that he acted as the Vicar General of the diocese while he was in St. Joseph's. And also he had to deal with the government at that time. He was dealing with the government frankly about Catholic chaplains who were in the prison service, and he was trying to organise payment for the Catholic chaplains who were in the prison service in Scotland at the time. So I'll just tell you that at that time, Father James must have been very highly respected, like in the Scottish diocese, in that he was allowed to deal with the government. He had his own typewriter at that time, so he used to type all his letters and all. We have some of those letters here as well. Now, when we got finished, I have kind of a display of stuff here on the table that you can have a look and see. This is some of the material that we have kind of established from his time. What here? Yeah, that's a letter he typed about the Catholic chaplains and the pay they should be getting from the government and the services they were given to the prison service in Scotland, and that they should be getting the same salary as the Presbyterian chaplains. Okay? That's a picture of Father James outside his chapel in Dunkeld or St. Joseph's. I think it's the other thing could be there was also next door to St. Joseph's that there was a big monastery where people went on retreats, and sometimes if you examine the building in the background looks similar to that, but yeah, in 1915 then there was a demand, and the British government sent out a demand for Catholic chaplains, because up to then all the chaplains in the British Army were either Anglican or Presbyterian. They had no Catholic chaplains. In actual fact, in 1915 all they had was 15 Catholic chaplains in the whole of the British Army at the time, and they were all people who had desk jobs in London. So they sent out a demand for Catholic chaplains to join up the forces, because of so many Catholics were fighting in the different regiments, and that they needed to, you know, to have their own priests available to them. So Father James then decided that he'd join up in 1915 because the war was raging in France at the time, and as I said, he went down to London then, and he joined up as a chaplain, and as a chaplain then he had the rank of captain. Any chaplain that joined the army had the rank of captain. So from that day on he was captain wherever James Shine, and he was commissioned into the Royal Army Chaplains Department. He was assigned to the 21st Battalion of the Middlesex Regiment. Now, the Middlesex Regiment was a regiment in London itself, and a Middlesex Regiment was what they call now a PALS regiment. All these people kind of from all the one area of London would have joined. The 21st, he joined the 21st Middlesex Regiment. The 22nd Middlesex Regiment was a footballing battalion. You'd often see this thing about the fellas playing football during the Second World War. Well, that was the 22nd Middlesex Regiment that did that. But Father James was in the 21st Middlesex Regiment, and his address at the time was given as 39 Pandon Street, Haymarket, Middlesex. And funny enough, Rona gave me a checkbook, stubs of his checkbook, and the stub of his checkbook was very interesting because when she looked at it, she saw Pete Whelan, she thought it was £1 million. But in fact, it was Bonnie Millin, it was a place in France to show where he was. And when I went through his checkbook stubs, it showed to me straight away that firstly he joined in 1915, and he paid for his kit out of his war kit, which would be some of this stuff here. Probably this was part of his kit. He paid for that out of his checkbook in 1915, and then he stayed in London during the training period. In December 1916, then he was trained as a captain in the Middlesex Regiment as a chaplain, and then in January of 1916. 1916, he went back to Scotland. He took a holiday and went back to Scotland to visit all his friends in Scotland. And when he was finished in Scotland, he spent a fortnight and 3 weeks there. He then came back then to join back with the Middlesex Regiment. In February 1916, the battalion moved to Whitby, and then they transferred to the 121st Brigade and 40th Division for final training. And on the 1st of June 1916, now this is interesting, on the 1st of June 1916, he transferred to France. He went to France. And what was going on in June of 1916 in France? The Battle of the Somme raged through 1916. And as I went through his checkbook, and he said, cash the check, such a place, cash the check. And when I followed all those places that were on the checkbook, I found that every one of them were all on the battlefront of the Battle of the Somme. But there's no doubt about it that Father James spent all of 1916 in the middle of the Battle of the Somme. And you know, I mean, you hear about the fellas in the north what they did in the Somme, but you never hear what the fellas down here did in the Somme. But he was all through the middle of the Battle of the Somme in 1916. Just give me another slide there, Sheila. And that's just a slide of Father Gleeson. Now, Father Gleeson was also, he was with the Munster Fusiliers, and it just gives you an idea of what priests did. He was blessing the troops before they went into the battle. That's at the Somme as well. Father Gleeson was also a chaplain at that stage. So again, Sheila. Now, this is another interesting picture. I got this in Galley Road. I think it was with Dr. Mona. This picture shows a priest saying Mass. And I talked to a fellow last night, and I showed him the picture, and he said, can you date that? And he looked at it, he said, that's very early in the war. I said, look, because he has a leather band on there. They turned that, as time went on in the war, they changed those bands to wedding, because the leather didn't last in the trenches. So he says, that's about 1915 or maybe 1916. I think to Father Morrissey, I'd say the same Mass, because he was also in the First World War, but he was in Mesopotamia, and that looks like he's probably Mesopotamia. Father Dan Morrissey ended up afterwards he was the parish priest in Dunhill. Down in Waterford. He's buried in Dunhill in Waterford. But that picture of Father Morrissey would be about 1916 again, in that period. Okay, Philip. That's Father James out the back. Now, at this stage, he's been all through the song. And I just read one little bit from the diary of the Middlesex Regiment. On the 21st, this is from the 2nd of July, from the Middlesex Regiment. The 21st Battalion at Maroc, in the trenches. At Berlin, they were a support battalion. And on the 5th, they were holding Maroc. The whole thing that they were under fire all the time. From the battalion diary of the 20th and 21st Middlesex Regiment, we could deduct the following. Yes, I don't bother that. That's but all who suffered in the trenches. Yeah, this in October 1916. Captain Bundy was talking of the Middlesex Regiment, explained what he did. I visited the trenches to be taken over, and we were to do a show. I have never seen such desolation. Mud, thin, deep and black, shell holes full of water, corpses all around in every state of decomposition. Some partially devoid of flesh, some swollen and black, some fresh, lying as if in slumber. One boat upright, a landmark and a guide, another bowed as if trying to touch his toes. Our trenches are little more than joined up shell holes, mostly with 12 inches of water and 12 inches of mud. A sunken road provides the only access under cover, which is always constantly under shell fire. The casualties on the road are terrible. I have a very narrow escape myself. A 5.9 shell plunged into the mud just in front of me and did not explode. 1,000 to 1 chance. I was smothered with slime and had to scrape it out of my eyes to see where to go. That's the kind of thing that even the officers are putting up with. As I say, the war diary of the battalion also shows that Father James said Mass on the 12th of November 1916 for the regiment. He also said Mass again on the 17th of December 1916 and again at Christmas Day 1916. And in February then 1917 he was still in the general area of Sally-Lorette, which is a village 9 kilometres east of Amiens and 9 kilometres southwest of Albert. It was quite possible that while he was there that he visited the famous cathedral in Amiens. There's a famous cathedral in the city of Amiens. It's one of those medieval cathedrals. I probably would have said Mass because there's altars all around Amiens. Because actually when we went to France we stayed in Amiens and we went to visit the cathedral because it's the highlight of the town. In May 1917 there was more action again along after the German retreat on the Hindenburg line. The capture of 15 ravines, Willows, Pouch, Beauchamp, and including the capture of Borland Wood. And on the 11th of May, Father James was in Finns, which is part of the battle line taken from the... the reason he was on, I know he was in Finns is because of his checkbook. He was in Finns. And in Finns, that's in the Somme region of northern France again. He came home to Ballylappin then on leave in July 1917. During this period, on his way from France, he came through Waterford and spent the night at Durstline Convent saying Mass the next day for the nuns, visiting his aunt, Sister Barbara Anglem, who was a nun in the Durstline Convent at the time. So I kind of presume that this picture was taken when he was visiting the Durstline Convent. It suggests to me that that's what that is, He was a great favourite with the children. My mother used to always talk about when he was around, and he'd throw pennies up in the air and they all would scramble for pennies. Because my mother would have been about 8 or 9, I suppose, well, 7 or 8 at the time. So she did remember him, His mother Mary fell and broke her hip and died in February 1918, but he didn't get home in time for the funeral. Old Jim Fitz, who lived in Ballylappin, recalled that Father James arrived from the train in Care when they were filling in the grave in Dublin churchyard. Regardless of the family situation, he had to return to France and attend to his men again. And on the 9th of April 1918, Jim Keeling, you know Keeling strawberries, you know that you could get. Well, Jim Keeling of the Brooke Portland served Mass for him the last time on the 9th of April. And this was, the 9th of April was the height of a great German offensive. The Germans decided that in April, of March and April, that they were going to make one last push before the Americans came. They were going to make one last push to drive the English back into the sea. And they very nearly succeeded. They started what they called Operation Michael at the Battle of Lewis, and they made a massive bombardment all on, from March and April of 1918 to try and destroy the English forces, or particularly the Allies' forces, and push them back into the sea. Yeah, they made one right strong attack, and on part of the line that the Germans attacked, it was held by the Portuguese. And the Portuguese army, who were trying to hold back the Germans, they had been there for the last 2 years, had run out of rations. In actual fact, some of the Portuguese army had no shoes even at this stage. So they were overrun by the Germans. And the Germans made a hole through the British lines, and they were just chasing their way through to the channel, to the English Channel. But what happened to the Germans was they overextended themselves, and they couldn't keep the push on. So they stalled in April, and they didn't get to go further. So here I have to try and show a script, a piece there I have. Just stay with me now.